And Alan, you look at that 2010-11 season, Amar'e Stoudemire was healthy for the most part, 78 games played, and he averaged 25 points per ball game. Remember, they got Melo from Denver in the spring of that season. They ended up getting swept in the playoffs by the Celtics. But to me, the legacy of Amar'e Stoudemire, he wanted to be a Knick and signed with the Knicks in the summer of 2010.
I remember I was standing right next to him that day when he said the Knicks are back. A famous line from him, obviously, in 2010 during that wild free agency. And what Amar'e did, and a lot of people, I think that's why so many fans love Amar'e, is because he did bring sort of that swagger back to the franchise. And I always say this, if you don't get Amar'e, you don't get Melo. And if you don't get Melo, you're not getting Tyson, and you're not having that, those years that they put together that might have been brief, but still was the most successful, run that they've had here in a long time. So it started with him and him wanting to be here. And people forget, too, the beginning of that season, it didn't start out great right out of the gate. It wasn't great. But all of a sudden, he got hot, and he went 9 straight games scoring over 30 points. And it ended with this game where he hit a three that would have beaten the Celtics, but it missed by like a 1/10 of a second. And I remember sitting courtside. I couldn't believe that they called it off because they had to review it. But what a performance that he was putting on, basically by himself, carrying the team. The Garden was lit up. The Garden was excited. Fans were excited about this team. He was playing great. And in Denver, Carmelo Anthony was watching and saying to himself, I want to be part of that. And that's what's important about getting that first star, and that's what Amar'e was.
Well, you're right, Alan, and he started the whole thing. In 2010, when it was a big free agent year for the NBA, and Dwayne Wade and Bosh and LeBron obviously went to Miami, and we were in talks with all those guys, and we didn't get any of them. And Amar'e had the chutzpah to come to New York. He wasn't scared. He was ready for it. And he shined. The first 54 games, he only missed one game. He was averaging like 26 points, 9 rebounds, was really, really playing at an all-star MVP type level. And then we got Carmelo, and they were just trying to figure out how to play together, so to speak. And it worked sometimes, and sometimes it didn't. And that's just basketball, and it takes time to figure that out. But the following year, when we went 54-28, they had kind of figured it out. But Amar'e missed some games. And to his credit, he came in, he came off the bench part of his career in New York because he just wanted to win. Mm-hmm. And, I just wish that when they were at Carmelo's wedding, when Chris Paul made the toast saying that they were going to form their own big three, if Chris Paul would end up coming to New York, or we'd have figured out a way to get him to New York, I think that whole thing would have been different. It'd be a different story. The whole narrative would have been different about Carmelo, Amar'e, because they'd had a true point guard that makes the game so easy for them, just like Steve Nash did for Amar'e out in Phoenix. When you have a point guard that makes the game so easy for you, the game becomes, just second nature. You don't need to really think about things because your point guard is doing all the thinking for you. So I think that's what we missed out on a little bit. Then Chauncey Billups got hurt later that year, so they didn't have the point guard that we needed to get over the hump, and we ended up losing the Pacers in the second round of that 2012 year.
Man, that what if, JW, that was emotional. Crazy what if. I just remember Amar'e Stoudemire being consistent and sort of stoic. But I gotta say, I know we are praising him for his basketball prowess. Last year, when we were still in studio, when he hopped on the MSG 150 with us, I love that he's open to discuss the wine baths and that they're still a thing.
There you go, Monica.